Hey folks, I wanted to extend the battery life of my GoPros while out on the water. I was finding I was missing a lot of footage because the batteries would die, and I didn't want to go through the process while out on the water swapping out batteries. So I wanted to come up with a way to try and extend the battery life. I came across 3BR PowerSports makes these external power kits for the GoPro Session and the GoPro Heroes. They utilize the USB port and you can plug that into a power source, either if you've got happen to have a USB powered port somewhere around your kayak. I have one, but time to maybe add some more. Or some guys will use a portable power pack and tie or strap it on somewhere. I use these RAM mount camera mounts to mount my cameras. They've got a 1.5 inch ball mount on the bottom, which I use on the Hobie 1.5 inch ball accessory mounts on the H-rail. So I wanted to try to come up with a way of having a battery source, a power source close by. So I developed, I guess you can call it, RAM tube power pack. I'll walk you through the process of how I built it and give you a general idea of some of the parts you'll require. First problem I had to solve is coming up with a USB port that I could mount into the tube. So I came across, you can see it's just these lipstick style power banks on Amazon. They're pretty simple. They've got a USB port and also a charge port. These ones they're rated at 3350 milliamp hours. I think they run $19.99 a piece. So I decided I'd order 3 of these and deconstruct them, take the cells out of them and wire them in parallel and see if they'd fit in the tubes. When you take these apart, you got to be careful. These caps are on there pretty tight, and there's a little bit of glue and what have you in there. I ended up having to use a set of pliers to get these open. In the process, I ended up destroying one of the USB chips, but I did manage to get 2 apart without any damage and salvage the cells out of there. Once we've pried it out of the tube, this is what we've got. Open both ends of the tube and push the battery and the USB out from the bottom. Seems to be the easiest way to get it out. There was some foam on the side here that kind of keeps it secure in the tube from rattling. So you just push from the bottom and she'll come out. Just pull off the cap. See if we can pry this off the contacts without damaging much. Fasten to the top of the cell. Okay, just got ourselves a set of snips here. I think I'm going to snip it down here as much as possible. Give myself some extra material to solder the wires to connect all the batteries. There we go. Alright, there's the adhesive off there. There's the negative ribbon. Just take this stuff off. Have a look underneath here. Looks like just a little insulator to keep things away from the battery. So we'll leave as much ribbon on there as possible. Okay, there's that. First thing I need to do is I need to cut a round pocket in the tube in order to mount the USB port. In order to do that, I'm going to use a just plain spade bit The issue is my spade bit is 1 inch, and the tube is just over 900 thou. I'm going to grind the spade bit down to just over that size. That'll make it just a tad bit bigger, which is perfect. Okay, we got her set up, centered in the drill press. See how well this goes. Should be good. Let's see how that fits. That will work. We're gonna set that in there with a little bit of epoxy after we cut this down. What I want to do is take one of the tubes, sit it in to the hole I drilled out, get it in there as flat as can be, and take a measurement, give me an idea where I've got to cut the other one off at. Just gonna leave a mark here. So I'm just going to take my measurement, maybe just go about 1 millimeter higher. And then I'm going to transfer it to this one to cut it off. This is the top piece of the original. So this is made out of aluminum. So I'm just going to use my pipe cutter. There you have it. Now, a quick test fit. Fits in there. Alright, I just got to mix up some epoxy, and we'll epoxy that in there. So the way I'm going to orient them in the tube is this is positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive. I'm going to wire them in parallel. I'm putting them in this orientation just in case they happen to touch while they're in the tube somehow or another, else I don't want them, the negative touching to the positive, because we're wiring them in parallel. It's a pretty tight fit in the tube and doesn't give you a lot of room for the wire. So what I'm going to use is, I found an old RCA cable floating around. It's got 2 wires together. Thinner gauge, you don't need a lot for this. This should work good and be able to fit into the tube as well. If I go up much higher than that, I'm not going to have room to get everything in the tube. I'm going to start with the bottom battery first. Just add a little flux to that. Pick up a little solder. It's on there well. Flip this battery upside down like this. I'm going to move on to the negative terminal. I'm going to try and keep this as tight as I can. So I got all 4 batteries wired up in parallel and got them in the tube. I only went so far. It's a real tight fit even with this thinner gauge wire in the tube. These batteries seem to be a little bit wider. I don't know if it's the covering they got on the casing or what in the last set that I did, but they fit in the tube so far. Brought the wires out. The hole they're drilled. Temporarily wired up onto the USB port. Charged it up, went to a full charge. So that's all working well. I made sure I marked my positive one so I didn't get that confused because they're both black wires. So that's done. This sticking out this far is fine. The cap at the bottom has a little bit of room anyway, so when the cap goes on, it'll fit.
I'm gonna add probably some hot glue and just seal that up, just for protection. Then seal the tube up with the end piece. I'm gonna take these wires back off and epoxy in the fitting right here.
So here's the tube, epoxied in place. Cut my wires off and soldered the positive to the positive, negative to the negative. Added just a little bit of shrink tube to the positive here, just to add a little protection in case something touches inside. Simply add the cover back on. Got it in place there. And simply, when you are assembling this, the tube has 2 slots cut in each side to coincide with these, so be cautious of that when you're doing your orientation, so you know which way this is going to line up, unless that doesn't really matter to you. But I'm a little anal about these things and like to keep things straight up. So simply slides back down in place. The cap. Screws on. And there you go.